Past verb conjugation in English is the modification of a verb's form that expresses facts, repeated actions, a list of actions, and schedules and timetables in the past tense. In English, there are 4 tenses in the past: past simple, past continuous or progressive, past perfect, and past perfect continuous. In this video, I'll only cover the past simple and how regular verbs work in the tense, considering that it's an easy tense with a simple pattern that is the same across every subject. Other tenses have irregular changes and are topics for future videos. For now, we'll work with regular past simple verb conjugation. To conjugate regular verbs in the past simple in English, we first must understand what makes a regular verb in the past. The best way to recognize them in any sentence is to see the time change in a sentence, so they also combine with the personal pronouns I, you, he, she, it, we, and they. With regular verbs, we form the past simple and also the past participle by adding the letters ed to the end of the conjugated verb. Sometimes, only the letter d will be added if the verb already ends in the letter e. Regular verbs can sometimes change their spelling in other ways, such as a verb ending in a consonant plus y. All of these concepts will be explained in a minute. First, we have to understand that regular verbs follow specific conjugation rules when forming the past simple tense and past participle. We can use the past simple tense to describe actions and events that were fully finished in the past, meaning that they're not continuous. However, the past participle is a form of a verb typically ending in ed that forms perfect and passive tenses and can act as an adjective. It's also very important because its action is done to the subject of the sentence, often used with auxiliary verbs, especially to be. Even though it's also a topic for a future video, it needs to be mentioned in the past simple tense because it will make perfect tenses and passive voices simpler to understand grammatically. I will not be elaborating a lot on the past participle in this video, but it's definitely something important for the future. For most regular verbs, we simply add the letters ed to the base verb, or d if the verb already ends in e, to form the past simple and past participle. Some regular verbs can change their spelling in other ways, but they still follow similar patterns. Short verbs ending in a consonant-vowel-consonant pattern and having one syllable will double the final letter and add ed, like in the verbs to chop and to drag. To chop in the past simple will look like this: I chopped, you chopped, he, she, it chopped, we chopped, and they chopped. The pattern for this verb doubles the final letter and adds ed, and it's also the same pattern for the past participle of the verb. The pattern is also the same across all pronouns, which is why the past simple has one of the easiest patterns. The conjugations are the same across all subjects, which is true for any past verb and any irregular verb as well. Likewise, to drag in the past simple will look like this: I dragged, you dragged, he, she, it dragged, we dragged, and they dragged. The pattern is also the same for the past participle of the verb. At this point, there is no sense in covering all subjects because the pattern is the same for all, so I will only emphasize the pronunciation of the conjugation in the past simple. Longer verbs that have more than one syllable and end in the consonant-vowel-consonant pattern will also double the final letter and add ed, like in the verbs to permit and to admit. But it's important to note that such verbs have a stress on the final syllable, and it's done on purpose so that it's not confused with the potential noun form of the word. Like, to permit is a verb meaning to give authorization to someone, but permit is a noun meaning an official document that gives authorization. This is something to watch out for due to the stress and pronunciation. Anyhow, to permit in the past simple will look like this: doubling the final letter, adding ed, and its pronunciation is permitted. Permitted. It's also the same pattern for the past participle of the verb. To admit in the past simple will look like this: doubling the final letter, adding ed, and its pronunciation is admitted. Admitted. The pattern is the same for the past participle form too. If a verb ends in a consonant plus y, we will remove the y and add the letters I, E, D, like in the verbs to try, to cry, to deny, and to notify. To try in the past simple looks like this, and its pronunciation is tried, tried. To cry in the past simple looks like this, and its pronunciation is cried, cried. To deny in the past simple looks like this, and its pronunciation is denied, denied. To notify in the past simple looks like this, and its pronunciation is notified, notified. If a verb simply ends in E, only the letter D will be added, like in the verbs to love, to change, to hope, and to imagine. To love looks like this, pronounced loved, loved. To change looks like this, pronounced changed, changed. To hope looks like this, pronounced hoped, hoped. To imagine looks like this, pronounced imagined, imagined. With any other regular verb, the conjugation pattern in the past simple and past participle simply receives ed, like to ask, which becomes asked, to enjoy, becoming enjoyed, to delay, becoming delayed, to assist, which becomes assisted, and many, many, many more. Still, if a verb ends in a W, X, or Y, the final letter is not doubled, like to flow, simply becoming flowed. Ultimately, here is a simple chart that can be followed to recognize the endings for regular verbs in the past simple tense. Although most verbs in English are regular, many irregular verbs don't follow the regular conjugation rules, which can change in many ways to form the past simple and past participle. While regular verbs are always the same in the past simple and past participle, these forms can be different for irregular verbs, but not always. Also, some verbs have regular and irregular patterns, which are generally different in adjective form and dialects, such as American English and British English. For instance, the verb to burn can become burned with ed in American English, which is mainly used in published writing. Sometimes it can be used to describe overcooked food, but similarly, the form can be burnt with t. Burnt can be used as an adjective because it also describes overcooked food, doing so more commonly, like the burnt toast. Still, in British English, burned and burnt are used interchangeably for the verb and the adjective, so there is a difference in dialect. All of these concepts with irregular verbs that can change in the past simple and past participle will be explained in the next video straight after.